first indication is attraction between male and female. So you have to, it's an indication, or it's a kind of an alertness given to us that be careful. Because as far as this attraction goes on, the chance of serving Krishna in his pure devotional service is not possible. One is to come out. So if you study these words, it says, Pumsham Stri Maithuni Bhavam Etad. Maithuna Bhava literally means attraction for sex. Tayor Mito Hidayo Gandhi. Sri Prabhupada says, once the male and female are there, as far as they are separate, there's no problem. But once they come together, and then Hidaya Granthi, as once they have sex, it means the hearts will be entangled, tight. And to give this attraction away is not easy, because once that contamination goes in, then it says, Janasya moho ayam aham mameti. For example, when a man gets attracted to a woman, he gets married. And then Griha Kshetra Sutapa. He has a Griha means home. Kshetra means his society, his field of activities. Sutap means children, and so on. And the effect is Janasya Moho. It becomes Moha. Moha means illusion by this attraction. And this attraction increases. And the effect of this attraction is Mameti. Mameti means mind, mind, mind. There's Ahankara and there's Mamakara. Ahankara means I. Mameti means my. My means my wife, my family, my children, my home, my business, my good name, my activities, and the list is unending. And in this way, a man becomes bound to fruitive activities. And there's so much hankering that he wants to enjoy his senses to the fullest. And we'll find that the senses, even if you give any amount of enjoyment, the senses will still demand more. Because sense enjoyment is like spoiling your senses. The actual activity of the senses is to serve Krishna. It's like a devotion. Rishikesha Savanam Bhakti Uchyate. You have to engage your senses in the service of Krishna. Then you'll be happy or satisfied. But if the senses are used for some other purpose, like enjoyment, trying to please one's body, one's wife, one's children, then the effect is that the attraction will become more and the sense will become more contaminated. Sri Prabhupada says, for example, you have itching on your hand. If you itch once, if you just scratch it once and leave it, nothing will happen. If you go on scratching more and more, itching will increase more and more. And a time comes when there's every possibility, you can even spoil your skin. So this is an example we should remember. Too much rubbing does not help on the skin. In the same way, too much enjoyment of the senses will simply spoil the senses. And this hankering will go to an extent that you want to have some honor in the society, a happy family, a happy home, etc. You want more and more and more. In every possible way, you want to enjoy. And for this, you have to work very hard. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, it says, a grihastha means a married man, or even a grihameti. He has to work very hard because he has to maintain his home, his family, which includes wife, children, maybe even grandparents, parents, and so on. And he really has to work very, very hard. And there are times he may do some things which are not actually according to scriptures. In other words, it may be even some illegal activities to earn some money, to keep his family pleased. And he becomes like, we can say, like an animal. He can even give up his human nature and become as good as an animal. This is the effect of too much Sanskrit. So why he has to work hard? So he gets money, and he gets money by hook or crook. So whatever happens, I must get my money. And he has to please his wife, and for which he has to work hard. And if Prabhupada comments here in the purport that the whole world is actually revolving under this illusion. The mode of passion is very, very strong in whatever part of the world you go. He says that formerly, in the Varnashram system, the Vedic society was so good that people used to be more in the mode of goodness. Now, the modern society is more or less on the mode of passion or ignorance. Prabhupada, when he went to America, he noticed that the mode of passion and ignorance was very, very common. And he was praying within his heart and to his spiritual master, how will these people accept Krishna consciousness? Because it's very, very difficult for people who are in the mode of passion. Because it's not going to give you any attraction towards Krishna when you are in the mode of passion. But the Vedic society was so good that the central attraction was Krishna or Vishnu. In the Bhagavad Gita, it says, Atapumbit Vijasrishta Vanashram Vibhagasha Sanasrishtaya Dharmasya Samsiddhir Haritoshanam. Hari means Krishna. The whole society, whether one is a Brahmin or a Kshatriya or a Vaishya or a Sudra, or even if one is a Brahmachari, Grahashta, Vanapashta, or even a sannyas, the central attraction always, according to Varnashram system, was Vishnu. So the Varnashram system society, which is also called Sanatana Dharma, was a role model. And it was there, very, very strong. And then it became degraded when people forgot, or due to the influence of Kali Yuga, people gave up the Varnashram system. Now the Varnashram system is not existing the way it is supposed to exist. There is Varnashram system, but not so much in practice, the way it used to be practiced at least 5,000 years ago. In the times of Maharaj Yudhishthira, or even in the times of Maharaj Parikshit, who is the grandson of Arjuna, the Varnashram system was doing very, very well. And the earth was prosperous. The earth would give so much abundant fruits, vegetables, grains. The cows were so happy that the cows would give milk, so much abundant milk, that even the ground used to become wet because of so much milk. This is in the time of Maharaj Yudhishthira. And it went on even up to Maharaj Parikshit. Maharaj Parikshit made sure that the mode of goodness prevailed in the society. And if there was more of passion or ignorance, he would fight and bring it back to the mode of goodness. Now, since people don't have this advanced knowledge, people actually suffer. And nobody is happy, because by sense enjoyment, nobody can be happy. You can give any amount of sense enjoyment to your senses, they'll always demand more and more and more. This is the mode of passion. You find that the more you give pleasure to your senses, the more they will demand. Sri Prabhupada says in a lecture that you fulfill one desire, another one will pop up. You fulfill the second one, the third will pop up. There is endless number of desires, no end to it. And as far as the man goes on fulfilling his sensual desires or trying to please his senses, there's no question of Krishna consciousness. That's why if you study the second chapter very scrutinizingly, you'll note something that the whole chapter goes very systematically. You'll find that the chapter 2 begins. The beginning of chapter 2 is explaining how Arjuna becomes weak after seeing his relatives. And at least up to verse number 9 is very weak. And that is the first section of Srimad Bhagavatam in the second chapter. But the good thing about Arjuna is he approaches Krishna and tells Krishna, please instruct me. I do not know what to do. My heart is ready. Sishyate mam sadhimam prapanam. I am your Sishya, means I am your disciple. Please guide me. So Krishna starts teaching. So the second section of chapter 2 is Krishna explains what is body, what is soul. It's also called Sankhya. Means in detail, he explains what is soul and how to become detached from the senses. And Krishna also teaches in the next section that you are a Kshatriya, you fight. Whether you win or lose, whether you die or you live, the gain is only if you fight. So Arjuna was not very much ready. So Krishna introduces devotional service. In chapter 2, devotional service is called Buddhi Yoga, which is explained in the verse number 39 of the chapter 2. And then Krishna, to keep the Buddhi Yoga safe, he explains the difference between fruity work and devotional service. In this way, Arjuna becomes convinced that yes, Buddhi Yoga is better. Also, Krishna wants him not to be attracted by the Karmakand section. Karmakand section means fruitive activities or activities done to fulfill, to increase sense enjoyment. No. He says, this is dangerous. Keep serious, keep yourself serious in devotional service. So in the last section, Krishna explains about how the taste of Krishna consciousness is so high that you can easily abandon sense gratification. All your senses will be directed towards Krishna. It's a natural way of giving up this attraction of the senses to the sense objects. In the last section, it says, even if you are performing bhakti, even if you are controlling senses, you should make sure that you remain alert, that you don't become victimized by sense gratification. Now, if you find last three sections, they are still pointing to one thing: give up sense gratification, or don't be attracted to sense gratification. Remain in Krishna consciousness, and this is called a godly way of life. Now, many people, they do not know the danger of sense gratification. Sense gratification, in the beginning, as I told you, is endless. You can go on enjoying and enjoying. The senses will never have mercy on you. So in the Srimad Bhagavatam, there is a verse which says, "O senses, I've given you so much pleasure, but you have never been kind to me. You are always cruel to me." Cruel means you're always demanding more and more and more. And examples are given in the Srimad Bhagavatam, and in other scriptures like even Ramayana. The famous example in Ramayana is Ravan. He had all the facilities of sense enjoyment. He had all the wealth of sense enjoyment. He had so many women, beautiful women, because when Hanuman went to look for Mother Sita, he noticed that there are so many women in the palace of Ravan enjoying. And all the facilities of sense enjoyment were there. And what brought about the destruction of Ravan is sense enjoyment. He could not control his senses. He kidnapped Mother Sita, and it brought about destruction. So this is a fine example. And if you go to 7th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, we find the whole episode or the whole explanation how Hiranyakashipu, he was very, very powerful. He had all the facilities of enjoyment, but he could not control his senses. It was first time when he meets his son Prahlad, who had just come from school. He brings Prahlad on his lap and he smells his head according to Vedic scriptures. And he asks Prahlad that, what is the best thing you learned from your school? And Prahlad answers that Matina Krishna Paratyato Paratava. The meaning of this verse is that those who cannot control senses, especially in married life, then married life is considered to be like a dark well. Once you fall inside, to come out is indeed impossible. So you should go to the forest. In Sanskrit, forest is called one. And the same verse is not just one, go to Vrindavan. It means go to Krishna, practice Krishna consciousness. Because he knew that he's not going to learn anything. He knew his father. That's why he calls his father the best of the asuras, Asura Raja, that you're the king of the asuras. And this is the first meeting of Prahlad and his father when Prahlad had come from school. At that time, Hiranyakashipu was not angry with Prahlad, but he was angry with the teachers of Prahlad. So what are you teaching my son? And you spoiled my son. Who has taught him that Vishnu is the supreme, or how to engage in devotional service? And all this knowledge which is God, where did he get from? I did not send my son to your school to learn all this, son. I sent my son to your school to learn dharma, artha, kama, things like that. Politics, how to control others, how to rule over others, and so on. Why are you teaching all these things? And the teachers, Sand and Amarka, said, no, we are not responsible for this. We do not know where your sons are learning. So in this way, he was forgiven on the first day. And after many months, when he again questioned Prahlad, what is the best thing you learn? And then he replied, Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam. But he gave the definition of devotional service in its 9 limbs. And even if you read the Sanskrit, it says, Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu. Vishnu means Kirtan of Vishnu, not anyone else. Not Devi Kirtan, not some Deva Kirtan, not some man's Kirtan, no other Kirtan, only Vishnu. Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu. Kirtanam for Vishnu. So this time when his father heard this, he was angry, not just angry, he was furious that he decided to kill his own son with his own hands. And before that also he tried many, many ways to kill Prahlad. And it was not possible to kill Prahlad because he was constantly protected by Krishna. So anyway, Ravan is a good example, Hiranyakashipu is a good example, and many, many examples are there in the scriptures about people who were in the mode of passion. In the end, everything got destroyed. So as you read the chapter further, this particular chapter, this particular verse is speaking about the conditioning, how one gets conditioned by the mode of passion and the effects. As you go further, you find what happens when you are in the mode of passion. After death, where will you go? Is also explained. If you stay in the mode of passion, you are risking yourself because people who die in the mode of passion will have to take birth again here. They can't get liberation. People in the mode of goodness can go to higher planets. People of mode of ignorance will go glide down to the lower species or the lower species of life or lower planetary systems. So mode of passion is very, very dangerous. So in the end, Srila Prabhupada also says that if you stay in the mode of passion, there's no question of liberation. What to talk of mode of ignorance? I'll read the sentence here. It says, there's no liberation for the mode of goodness. So what to talk of passion? Even in goodness, there's no liberation. Because when you die in goodness, you'll go to the higher planetary systems like Brahmalok, Janalok, Tapalok, and so on. Different planets of different demigods. But you can't free yourself from the cycle of birth and death. So more of goodness is as it is dangerous. So what to talk about more of passion, it is still more dangerous. So we should try to understand this chapter thoroughly. So at least we have a vision. We'll get a vision what to do in one's life. That's why this particular chapter is very, very important. Because when you read this chapter, you'll understand so many things. So if you see our Vanashram system or our old India, the system which was practiced was in the mode of goodness and beyond. Sri Prabhupada says that at least 200 years before, the Kali Yuga effect of Kali Yuga was not all that strong. And people knew what is Vanashram system. People obeyed the Vedic scriptures, and people were happy, very, very happy. Now people are more or less in the mode of passion or ignorance. That's why people are not happy. It's very difficult to find a person who is happy in this present age. I recall in my younger days, in the neighborhood I was staying, people were very friendly. People were in the mode of goodness. We would share everything. And when you talk to someone, there'll be a smile on the face. Smiling, they'll ask you something. They'll greet you. And this way people would live like one society. Now everything is deteriorated in a matter of years. And what is Sri Prabhupada explaining to us, or Prabhupada instructing us, that as the Kali Yuga increases, all these good qualities will go down. People will have, the health will go down, the length of life, the duration of life will become shorter, the height of people will shorten, memory will go down, and people will become more and more hypocritical, selfish. Because the age of Kali Yuga means quarrel and hypocrisy because of the mode of passion and ignorance. So this particular verse is actually an eye-opener for all of us, that if you stay in the mode of passion, this will be the effect. And the verse number 6, which was just done previous to this verse, explains that even in the mode of goodness, there is a danger. You'll be bounded. What is the condition? I'll read the verse of 6. One becomes conditioned by the sense of happiness and knowledge. People think, oh, I am happy and I am knowledgeable. And there's every chance that if there's too much happiness and a pride of knowledge, you can forget Krishna. That's why it is conditional. You find that when people are very, very happy, they forget so many things. Even they forget their own duties. So this is the mode of goodness. And the verse for today is explaining the mode of passion. So you find that we also in our daily practical life, you find most people are very passionate. They want to enjoy. How many people you meet today want to live a simple life? Very few. People want more and more enjoyment. People want, if someone has a small house, people want a bigger house. People have a small car, they want a bigger car. People have little salary, they want more salary. People have simple food, they want complicated food. And more you increase your passions, which results in hankering and longings, then your health, it spoils your health, it has effect on your intelligence, and also your spiritual life goes down. So modern passion is very dangerous. And modern civilization, the modern culture is actually telling you to enjoy your senses. One of our senior devotees or teaching was visiting us, and he said that in countries like America, you go, then you don't have cash in your hand. You always get a card and you use your card. So you use your card everywhere, in a restaurant or maybe any place of enjoyment, cinema, or even in a bus or anywhere. You keep using your card. And how much money you spend, there's no control. Because you may think, oh, card is very small, and there's actually no control. Formerly, people did have cards. And these days, banks, insurance companies, many institutions, they say, oh, you want to buy a car, we'll pay for you. You pay us in small pieces, means like monthly. And people get attracted. So now we'll have a new car. I can buy property, motor car, property, and then they have to work very, very hard. It means the modern civilization may seem to be very, very attractive and pleasing, but actually it is a binding civilization. Because after the age of 50 or 60, a man becomes like useless. Even in Kenya now, if you look for an employment, if your age is 50 over, there is very little chance you'll get an employment. You may be qualified, you may not get an employment. They want you to work very hard like an animal. So their chances for work maybe from 30 to 50. After that, no work. So what happens? People, they work very hard, they acquire a lot of money, and then they want to enjoy the money by traveling and so many places. Chanakya Pandit says, the more you travel, it will affect your health. Your health will go down. Better stay in one place. Live a simple life. Practice Krishna consciousness. So you'll have a long and a healthy life. But people don't want to listen to scriptures. People want to enjoy. Like in Nairobi, it's very, very common. I don't know about Eldoret. Nairobi is very common. People want to travel so much. They say, no, I want to see this, I want to see that, I want to experience this, I want to experience that. Whatever you do, in the end, you'll come back. And you'll find peace only in your house, not anywhere else. But how long will you enjoy? As far as you're loaded with money, once your balance of money goes down, you will give up. I mean, you don't have money, so you can't enjoy it. And you suffer. And many people who have a lot of money, sometimes they die early, leaving the money uselessly. I was told that if you stay in Japan, the policy of employment is very different from other countries. They say in Japan, if you work for a company, you have to work for the same company whole of your life. And they don't pay you full, they'll save your money. And at the age of 60 or 65, they'll give you money with the interest. So at that time, when you have a lot of money, what will you do? At the most, you'll become a tourist and go for a world tour, or go to some destiny where you can enjoy your senses. But that is not happiness. Real happiness is going inside, not enjoying senses. Because more of passion means a lot of sense enjoyment. But in devotional service, the whole aim is to give real pleasure to the senses, is to practice Krishna consciousness. Because Krishna consciousness actually means real happiness and real pleasure. So in these three verses, 6, 7, and 8, the conditioning of mode of goodness, mode of passion, and mode of ignorance is given, so that you understand these three modes and try to rise beyond these three modes. Even in the second chapter, Krishna tells Arjuna, rise beyond the three modes. Don't stay in these three modes. And how to rise above the three modes is by practicing bhakti yoga, Krishna consciousness, especially by hearing and chanting the holy name of Krishna. That's why Sri Prabhupada tells all of us, or advises the same to all of us, to always chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So I'll end up the class here. If you have any questions, to ask. Any questions?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Danvat Pranam.
Dandat Pranam.
My humble obeisances. Prabhuji, I have a question. Prabhuji, what about sleeping? I mean, I know we don't have to enjoy the sense gratification. How can we conquer sleeping? Because that really takes us back in our
Okay, sleep is a necessity. You can't live without sleeping. As much as you can't live without eating. So it's explained in the 6th chapter. Your question is answered in the 6th chapter. Yukta ahara viharasya. Yukta means right amount of sleep and right amount of food. Do not exceed that. If you want to become a yogi, means even devotional service is bhakti yoga. The rule is the same. Whether you are practicing hatha yoga, jnana yoga, karma yoga, even bhakti yoga, you have to eat limited and sleep limited. Sri Prabhupada says sleeping 6 to 7 hours is enough. If you sleep more than that, it means you are either in the mode of passion or ignorance. And you are spoiling your body. And it is true. And as you increase your Krishna consciousness, your sleep will actually go down. You sleep little. That's why you find that great people, even in the history of the world, they used to sleep the least, very little. Like the 6 Goswamis, they would sleep 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, not more than that. Prabhupada himself would go to sleep at 10 at night. He'll wake up at 2 in the morning and start translating his books. Sri Prabhupada also makes a statement, sleeping means wasting time. Of course, body needs sleep. So he says devotees don't sleep, but they rest. Rest means the body needs rest. And when the body is given rest, then all the functions follow properly. So it's not that you can't sleep or you should not sleep. You have to sleep, but right amount of hours, not oversleep and not overeat. Both goes together. If you want to see the verse, I can show you the verse. Give me 1 minute. It's Yukta Ahara Viharasya. That is how it begins in the 6th chapter. Just give me a minute. I'll give you the exact verse number. Six 17. Chapter 6, verse number 17. It says, he who is regulated in the habits of eating, sleeping, recreation. Here also the word recreation is mentioned. Recreation means you also need a little entertainment. You need to hear some music, maybe some sports or something, but there has to be a little recreation. So it mentions here, eating, sleeping, recreation, and work can mitigate all material pains by practicing the yoga system. This is a must. In the same words, in the same purport, Srila Prabhupada explains what you should eat, how much you should sleep, and how much you should eat. All is mentioned in the purport. So you can read the purport, you'll get your answer. Okay. Any other question?
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. I guess there are no more questions from the group.
So we can fold up the session for today.
Yes,
if there are no questions.
Prahlad, is it possible to end the session? Prahlad? Hare Krishna, Prahlad?
Yes, Hare Krishna. Yes, Mataji. First, I would like to thank His Grace Rukma Prabhu for giving us such an extensive class, and helping us through our journey, removing ignorance on the way. Because we learn something new every day with this class, and it helps us spiritually on our path towards going back to Godhead. So on behalf of everyone in this Zoom class, we would like to thank you, Prabhu, by chanting the Maha Mantra once, Everyone, please unmute if you can, and also try and turn on your video if you're able to as well. So let's chant the Maha Mantra once for His Grace Rukma Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare
Rama,
Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Hare.
Vanchakalpadurubhayasya Vasidurvaevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Srila Prabhupada ki,
Jai. Shraddha, Srila
Grace
Prabhuji
Rukma
ki
Prabhu ki.
Jai.
Jai.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Kumar Prabhuji and Prahlad Prabhu, for facilitating this session today.